All right, magically, time has elapsed. Not expired, but elapsed. And it is now Sunday morning after, there you go, the old time machine there. The Wayback Machine. No, we didn't go back, we went forward. And now we have witnessed, maybe that's a better term for it. We have witnessed the Royal Rumble. And we're going to talk about that.
You can't say you didn't like it. It was a good Royal Rumble.
Well, no, there were certain crimes against nature committed, but now, how do you say it was a good Royal Rumble? It wasn't a good show from start to finish. There was a valley in the middle of it we'll talk about. So the Rumble match was good.
The main event match was good.
The main event was good.
The Women's Royal Rumble was good.
Oh, fine.
Oh, come on. It was a good match. That was fun.
It had the right winner, but I will have to say it was fun. Was it fun for you?
It was fun for me. Someone just tweeted out a quote before. Do I still have this up? It was something you had just said on the show the other day, which was, if Rhea Ripley starts at number 1 and finishes the whole thing, I will consider it a classic.
Yeah, well.
So I wouldn't want you to call yourself a liar.
No, I'll never do that. So it was a classic. It was a classic filled with. They don't have 30. All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves because I remember when I was part of Creative, we actually had to book a full card. We didn't have the luxury of saying, okay, we're going to have the men's rumble, there's an hour. The women's rumble, there's an hour. Now we got 2 hours. 3 more matches, we're done. What the? Anyway, there were a lot of surprises, and I loved seeing Pat McAfee back on commentary. I actually listened to a lot of it because he was there. That's some energy and some life that we haven't been treated to in a while. But I like the Royal Rumble men's match. They started the show with it. And that's another reason why that the women's Rumble was so hard to stomach, because you've already seen the good one, and now you're seeing girls do it. I don't know how much plainer to make it than that. I can go into granular detail on how. Do you follow the steak from Morton's with the steak from Ryan's Steakhouse or the fucking Western Sizzler, and they're both great? No, if you're hungry, eat at the Western Sizzler first. You're going to fucking think it's the best one you've ever had. If you eat at Morton's first, then try to eat that Western Sizzler,
again,
you're chewing on Dalmatian.
The men's Royal Rumble was a classic. It was great. I think the women's Royal Rumble was really good. And again, they had the best, probably the best worker they had. After watching this thing, the best worker they have on that women's roster in there from beginning to end.
Yes, and it had the right winner. It just took a while to get there. All right, let's start with the men's, though. Let's start with the men's. We got Pat McAfee back on commentary. They're kicking the thing off with the hour-plus men's Royal Rumble. Gunther and Sheamus, the first two, in the match. Big man, and boom, boom, boom. And then here comes The Miz. And I'm just going to share some of the notes that I jotted down as we go through the people involved in this. For The Miz coming in, I wrote, how the fuck has this guy worked here for 15 years? That's pretty much what I'd say about The Miz. And then here comes Kofi Kingston. And, there's lots of action early, nothing important going on at this point. They're setting the stage. And the fifth guy, number 5, was Johnny Gargano. Did you detect that nobody gave 2 shits when Johnny Gargano come out?
I did, and I was actually looking to see the reaction, and I had my monitor here pumped up so I could hear the sound really well, which is why that pop at the end of the show was so spectacular. And I don't think anyone cares about Gargano, and he was in there a while. He does flashy moves every now and then, and those will get a reaction, but you call him Johnny Sameface, and I think for some people, because there's a nickname there, you can't take it seriously, but there's a legitimacy to it. And I don't think the general public cares. And he's also smaller than everyone. And in a Royal Rumble, it's really apparent. And he's not Rey Mysterio. So It's not that I'm against smaller guys, against everyone. I'll use Rey Mysterio as your favorite example. Again, Gargano's a guy who could run through the moves, but can he get people to care?
The biggest pop he got was when he handed Miz off to Sheamus for Sheamus to fucking dump him. And so, I don't know. Maybe he's just a fluffer. Old Johnny, he's just the fluffer for the star to come and do the actual work. What do you think? Should we start calling him Johnny Fluffer now?
I'm not calling him that.
Well, anyway. So next, number 6, here came Xavier Woods. And the New Day beat up everybody, did some flashy moves, then squared off with each other, and then did some kind of comedy circus trick where they jumped up in each other's arms and one played bongo on the other one's ass. Am I making that up?
No, you're not. And I would say I hate the New Day more than anyone, but Bray Wyatt works for this company, so I can't say that.
They can never be number 1, but they certainly here were number 2. All right, well, after the ass slapping, here came an ass we'd like to see slapped, but nobody slapped that one. Karrion Kross and Scarlett came out. And
You want to slap Karrion Kross's ass?
Oh, I was talking about the other one. He's accompanied by Scarlett. And he comes in and beats up the New Day and fights with Gunther. And as we mentioned, he gets less interesting every day. But speaking of getting less interesting, number 8 was old Shorty Gable. We're getting a ring full of underneath guys. At that point, I'm thinking maybe they're setting up for a giant to appear, right? They got to have some fodder in there. And the thing is, then Xavier Woods and Gable started amateur wrestling, which both of them have a background in. And as soon as they start doing this, the camera cuts away from the only good thing that Gable has done since they gave him this goofy gimmick. And number 9, here comes Drew McIntyre. And makes comeback on everybody and a big kick to Karrion Kross, and Kross goes over the top. He was eliminated with a big boot. So, again, I think they've obviously decided, well, this ain't working out.
As someone who's worked behind the scenes, although during a different regime, what should the fans what should a smart fan, or what should any fan who really cares read into someone who comes in, gets very little time, and kind of gets tossed off?
Wait.
I don't mean tossed off or whatever dirty. You are making this show just XXX like raw.
See, right now, if you were in the United Kingdom, there's people laughing at what you just said. He tossed him off, did he?
Like garbage. That's tossed off like garbage.
Right now, Karrion Kross is being tossed off by The Office. I'll just say that. No, I mean, it wasn't a 9-second elimination or whatever, but they're certainly not as enamored of his future potential as it seems they once were. Let's put it that way.
Do you think it would help him get over if him and Scarlett would do that thing that Xavier and Kofi did?
Yes. If it had been them, that would have got everybody over. So then number 10 is Pablo Escobar. And I wrote, it's kind of dragging, needs a pickup. And number 11, Daryl Dawkins of the Street Profits. Lots of action, nothing big. Gunther dumped Woods. Gunther knocked Kofi off the apron onto a chair. And it was like the announcer started saying, well, wait a minute, Kofi's foot hasn't touched yet because he landed on this chair. And, Kofi is the master of not having both feet touch in some acrobatic fashion. And then the next entrance, which I'll get to in a second, started, and they never mentioned it again, and we never saw him again. So apparently he just took that bump, and McAfee or whoever it was picked up on it. Was like, well, his foot didn't touch, but it was supposed to, I guess. I don't know. Did you see this?
I did. I don't know either.
Well, anyway, they didn't have time to flesh it out because number 12 was Brock Lesnar. And here we go. And I figured that they were, as I said, 3 people earlier, they were starting to line up some cannon fodder for a star. And that spot in the Royal Rumble goes back to Pat Patterson, first laying the first ones out. You always try to have Diesel had a moment one year, whatever. So Brock comes in and Germans everybody, and he dumps Escobar, and he dumps Dawkins, and he dumps Gable, and he suplexes Drew and Sheamus and comes face to face with Gunther. And just as they start going at it, Lashley music, he's number 13 or wherever we were at, but the camera cuts from Brock and Gunther for Lashley's entrance. And that entranceway was as long as, goddamn it, that was some small towns. Main Street isn't as long as this entranceway was in the Alamo Dome. So by the time that he got to the ring, all the Gunther and Brock was over with. And Lashley comes in and spears Brock and Drew and Sheamus and slams Gunther. And Brock goes for the F5 and Lashley drops out of it and clotheslines Brock over the top. And he eliminates him. And that got a pop. And also, that's the best use of Brock in the Royal Rumble. He can't be in there doing the spot with all the other normal guys where he sits on his ass in the corner and acts like he's kind of selling and keeps an eye on what everybody else is doing, or disappears for a while, or gets beat down by some schlub for a minute. You can't do that with Brock Lesnar. It kills him. So he came in, destroyed a bunch of shit, or destroyed a bunch of people, dumped a bunch of people, and then, got a lucky clothesline by Lashley. This is obviously continuing. And then he stays around ringside, tearing the desk up and manhandling referees. And the next guy coming out's Baron Von Corbin, and he meets him at ringside, Brock does, and gives him an F5 on the floor, and then fucking wanders around and stalks off.
Hits him so hard he falls down.
Yeah, that was perfect for Brock. So then, here comes Rollins. And McAfee at that point, for everyone watching on the Peacock, so Pat's a fan, Rollins basically rolls Corbin in on the way by and then fucking dumps him out the other side. So thank you for coming, Baron. And now we're back to the lowered expectations of the, roster, because here comes Otis. And I just, fuck. And in number 17 was supposed to be Rey Mysterio, but apparently now we have heard, and then we alluded to something was screwy in the SmackDown review. He hurt himself in some fashion on SmackDown, and that's why they pulled him out of the Royal Rumble. So his music plays, nobody comes out. And during that time, Seth reverses Lashley and dumps him, which was kind of an unimpressive exit for what he had done or been doing, or his status in the community. But then number 18 plays, and it's Dominic with Rey's mask on. So apparently the presumption is that Dominic attacked Rey in the back, stole his mask, wore it out, and then ripped it up into shreds. Poor Rey. And during the entrance, the unceremonious dumping of Fat Otis, they mostly missed that. And while Dominic is coming out, he's got heat, and these people don't like him. And he's getting into this thing. And there's Seth and Johnny Sameface in the ring doing complicated back and forth spots, and nobody's paying any attention because they're watching Dominic walk to the ring. Then number 19 was Elias. I didn't even know he was still around. And nobody else cared that he was still around either. And he comes in with a guitar, breaks the guitar over Gunther, and then Sheamus and Drew dump Elias. And basically all that did was cut Gunther's back up, because he was bleeding at that point from his back. Elias lasted, 30 seconds or whatever. Anything here trip your trigger yet, Brian?
No.
It's a classic now.
I mean, again, it develops into what I think most people will remember, other than the Lesnar stuff, which was memorable. It all really starts from here on.
It develops.
It develops. It's a slow moving.
It's a build. It's a fluid situation. So here comes Finn Balor, number 20, and thank God he dumped Johnny Sameface. And then at number 21, remember we used to get surprises. Well, we got one here, Booker T. Big pop. He looked good as long as he wasn't moving too much. But the people wanted to see him. It's in Texas. It's his home. He made a little comeback. He did the spin-a-rooney. And then Gunther grabbed him and threw him over the top rope and got some heat for it. So that was perfect they got to see Booker do a couple of the kicks that he does, the spin-a-rooney, and then Gunther gets heat for throwing a guy over the top rope that they liked. So that was a nice little spot.
That was nice. I think it was a bad decision years ago to get out of long trunks and go into the short trunks.
Well, thankfully, you're not a fashionista for Booker T's goddamn costuming company. I think he looked just. Are you saying he's got bird legs? Is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying he used to look taller. I think when he wore long trunks, he doesn't look as tall as he is for whatever reason.
Well, he's older now. He's broke down and can't stand up straight.
No, I mean I thought this like 10 years ago. I'm just saying it now because I wasn't on a podcast then. When he's been
old and broke down for 10 years now. Is what you're saying about Booker T?
That's exactly not what I said.
Well, sounded like it to me.
I said he should have worn his Harlem Heat trunks. He looked cooler. And he looked taller.
Well, maybe it was cold in the building and he wanted to look warmer.
It was cold in a building in San Antonio? In the Alamo Dome?
It's fucking January.
How cold does it get in Texas in January?
It can get cold. Remember, they just had snow and wind chill warnings in Dallas Christmas week.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah, see?
How far is San Antonio from Dallas?
About 275 miles.
Huh. All right.
It can snow. It can get cold in hell.
You calling San Antonio hell?
Number 22, Damian Priest is in there now. So now we got Balor and Dominic and Priest, the Judgment Day. He was spray tan 5 shades darker than I've ever seen him.
The best thing about Judgment Day is it's like a gang where it looks like all the members go to different nightclubs. And Damian Priest is like ready for the limelight, and Finn Balor is going to go to the China Club. Everyone goes to a different nightclub.
Rhea Ripley going to Plato's Retreat or possibly the Hellfire Club. So then Judgment Day are all working together, beating up everybody. And then number 23, Montez Ford comes in and the announcers, oh, Montez, what a great athlete, and Priest dumps him within a minute. And in number 24, Edge. And this was a pop. This was the boom, the pop so far, except maybe for Brock. Well, actually, even better than Brock because they knew Brock was going to be there somewhere, but Edge was a surprise. And Judgment Day shits themselves, and Edge comes in and speared all three of them and dumped Priest and dumped Balor. They had a great sequence, set up where, Edge could do all of that and it looked natural. And then he had a stare down with Rollins, but Dominic came in and intervened and Edge went to dump Dominic. And as he was trying to do that, Priest and Balor reached up and jerked Edge out, which we saw the other day in the Royal Rumble 92 with that bitter Hulk Hogan. So anyway, so now we got Edge and Balor and Priest and I forgot who all else, but here comes number 25, Austin Theory. And again, as Theory comes out, Edge and Balor and Priest are still having their fight in the aisle, and Ripley comes out and attacks Edge. And Beth Phoenix appears, which gets a big pop, and spears Ripley, which looks great. But it was all over the top, and Theory's standing back like, you go ahead, and then he goes to the ring. But Theory's entrance was stepped on by all the stuff with Edge and Judgment Day, and then he got in the ring, and they didn't set anything up for him. He didn't come in and make a big impact, or he didn't instead take the opposite route and try to obviously hot dog about, I'm gonna tank this thing. I'm just gonna stay out of the fight and get attention that way. He got in and started. It doesn't look like there's anybody pulling for our boy there. Trying to say, no, wait a minute. When he comes in, something's got to happen and, enhance him. Anyway, number 26, almost joined the Royal Rumble. And he did giant stuff to everybody and laid everybody out. And this, I know it's a natural, I know, but you would almost think that Vince was saying, oh, we got to have strongman and almost in this thing, because this was right down Vince's alley. Number 27 is Brown Strongman, and he squares off with almost. And they're face to face, and everybody else in the match is sitting and watching. And they do a long, sloppy 1-2, and then Brown clotheslines almost over the top rope and almost lands on his feet and leaves, and that's that. I'm not saying, because let's face it, almost is not, he ain't Andre the Giant. So I'm not saying that he should have then done the same thing Brock did, because it's already been done and it would have been wasted on almost, but that's a kind of a hell of a way for the biggest man in the company to get eliminated. Clothesline over top. See you later. And then number 28, Ricochet. So finally, Strongman's tag team partner is in so they can work together. And since that is going to happen, well, naturally, Drew and Sheamus, the Banger brothers, they're going to work together. So they get on top of Brown and start gangbanging him. And while this is all happening and more fighting, Gunther comes up behind Drew and Sheamus and dumps both of them in one of those glommed up pile-up things. So we're getting down to nut cutting time.
And again, everyone's waiting for Cody, who's now gone through almost everyone. You're thinking, wow, this is going to be an interesting move. Cody's either 29 or 30.
But he ain't 29 because there's somebody else that we didn't suspectify. Logan Paul.
Thank God.
Logan Paul is back. Exactly.
He's the best. He really is the best. Sign him, give him whatever he wants.
And what did he hurt?
He tore something off the boat, I think.
He tore his ACL, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. It was his ACL. And we were told he was going to be gone.
In what show was that? What time period was that?
That was the Saudi Arabia show. That was the last Saudi Arabia show. They did a second one this year, and it couldn't have been September that he tore his ACL. Hold on, let me look it up.
Please do, because, I mean, that's normally 6 months for an athlete to do the things that athletes do.
According to Jake Paul, he did not suffer a torn ACL in the match with Roman Reigns on November 5th. He's doing better than expected, Jake said. They thought it was going to be a torn ACL. It turned out it was just the MCL and meniscus.
Oh.
He's rehabbing it and hoping for the best. And he'll be number 29 in the Royal Rumble. There you go.
Oh, well, he didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that. By the way, this is from November 17th, so apparently the news came out that he didn't tear his ACL, and we just didn't see it because it was covered on whatever website this is.
And none of the wrestling sites have covered that. We got a scoop. Anyway, Logan hits the ring, and the people hate him, and all the boys stop to look at him because I think they hate him too, and everybody gloms him and kicks the shit out of him, and then goes back to fighting each other, and Ricochet goes to dump him, but he lands on the apron and comes back over and hits a buckshot lariat on Ricochet. And so I think old Hangnail needs to retire that move because Logan is taking it away from him. And then for doing that, Brown power slams Logan Paul and Ricochet splashes him. And right then is time for number 30. And boom, Cody. And the pyro and the music and the long walk and the game face. And this is what they were waiting for. And he makes a comeback on everybody. And people are feeding him. And he gets a big pop. And then Dominic stops him and tries the three amigos. And after two, Cody stops, turns it around, hits the crossroads, and dumps Dominic and gets a big pop because they're, again, the guy with probably as much pure heat with the people as anybody in the match. Cody gets to dump him. And then it's great for Cody, but old Brown, strongman, power bombed Cody and stopped him. So now Cody's switching fucking strongman heel. And I guarantee you he's thinking the biggest guy in this match left is going to be the one to stop me. And then at that point, that's where Ricochet and Logan Paul ended up on opposite aprons of the ring, looking at each other through the ring, standing there holding the top rope, and suddenly they both did springboards and came off the top toward the middle and clotheslined each other in midair and took the bump. That was incredible. That's a big ring. That was incredible. It's a 20-foot ring. So they met in the middle. They not only leaped up to the top rope and then leaped off from that, but then met in 10 feet in the air, 10 feet toward each other, and took the bump perfect. And I can believe Ricochet, because he's very acrobatic, but Logan Paul's, was this his fourth match? So that was a highlight.
There's nothing we've seen from him that hasn't been impressive in the ring. He has shown he could do little things, big things. He could leap. He's got strength. He's got size that doesn't look unnatural. Whether it is or not, who knows? But geez, every time we see this guy, just make him a heel and run with it. Find a way to make it enticing to him. You're trying to hotshot? Get this guy on your show every week.
I love him. He's the most obnoxious, dislikable person that is also a great performer that they've come. He's naturally dislikable. Anyway.
I didn't realize you didn't like him.
Well, no, for the fans, he's a heel. He's a heel, and he can work. Anyway, then Cody Cody dumps Brown, and Theory dumps Ricochet, and we're down to Cody and Theory and Seth and Gunther, not Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice.
And let me stop you right here, because it hit me watching this, and we'll talk about the other person there, but taking Rollins out of the equation, and I'm not taking anything away from him in terms of talent, but I've been sick of him for so long, and he does the whiny promos, and there's only so much Seth Rollins I could take. When I saw Theory and Gunther and Cody, when I saw those three in there, and then, you could throw Logan Paul in, he was just there. What an amazing Final Four in terms of looking forward to what WWE could be in the next year or 2 years. Theory, Gunther, and Cody, just those three alone, who knows how many dates you'll get on Logan Paul. Mixing those three into the top, that's exciting for me as a fan, to think about those guys being at that level.
Yes, not only somebody different, but also somebody that we actually want to see involved in the mid. It'll be good. We've got anticipation.
But Theory in that mix too, I'm saying, even though the way they've been using him.
Yes. That's why I wish they'd use him better, because he's going to have to be in their mix because he's the youngest one. Anyway, so Seth curb stomps Theory, who took a great bump for it. He fucking went down, then popped up and staggered drunk-legged and right in the perfect position for Cody to clothesline him over the top. So again, at least it was top guys and two of them that teamed up to eliminate him. And then Seth and Cody team up on Gunther and lay him out and then start fighting each other. And it's back and forth, but suddenly we forgot about Logan Paul. I don't know where he actually went, to be honest with you. But he returns from the dead and dumps Seth over the top rope and then points at the WrestleMania sign, and the people hate him. And Cody hits the crossroads and tosses him over the top rope. So again, Cody, he's either being stopped by the biggest, or he's eliminating the people with a lot of heat, or this was very well done. And then we're down to Cody and Gunther, and then they had a fucking match. which was a little bit of a match, which was refreshing.
No, they went a while. This was good.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying. I mean, they didn't have like a 20-minute match from there, but they went a while, which you know I liked seeing because now we haven't seen Cody in so long, and we haven't seen Cody against Gunther, and he chopped the shit out of Cody, and Cody sold. It was old time wrestling, so this part I was loving. And Gunther beats Cody up, and Cody's selling his ass off. Cody's chest is just beat up and hamburger. And he started, finally, Cody fires the comeback, and he hits the Cody cutter, and he hit Shattered Dreams, not quite like Dustin used to, but it was a tribute. And then Gunther finally was able to take back over and hit a power bomb and throw Cody over the top, but Cody hung on. And they traded some chops, and Cody came off the top, but Gunther chopped him and went for a power slam, and Cody dropped behind and hit the crossroads, boom, and eliminated Gunther. And a big pop, and the music, and the pyro. And the stadium looked great with the wide shots and all the lighting and the blah, blah, blah. And that's what, again, I think... Did we say this earlier in the program? Our show has been as long as one of the AEW pay-per-views already. Even though they expected Cody to win, sometimes in wrestling, you need to give the people what they expect they're going to see. If they want to see it, if they expect that they want to see something they don't want to see, but they're expecting to see it, maybe not. But because I know some people were saying, oh, it's going to backfire. If Sammy's in the Rumble, well, he wasn't. And if somebody else wins and they don't want it, whatever, no. Sometimes you need to do what the plan is because that's why it was your plan to begin with. It made sense from the start. So, yes, so I do applaud the finish. I applaud Gunther. I applaud Cody. And I applaud a few of the other bright spots that we mentioned that were in there. And it was a good Rumble, but unfortunately, it also at some point shows the lack of depth in their current talent roster or they've got plenty of guys. They don't have a lot of stars. Your thoughts, Brian Last?
I don't disagree with you. And, you know, when you have tag teams that are just broken up and sent out there and neither one of the guys really matter, you kind of know neither one is going to win the Royal Rumble. You can't have everyone be a star, but they're getting Cody back. This is night one. He's instantly one of the top guys, just based on the fact he won the Rumble and he gets the title match at WrestleMania. Boy, Gunther's set up perfectly for a run with Cody after Mania, just based on them being the final two in here. You could have a lot of fun with that for a while.
Yeah. And the way that Gunther can work and the way that Cody knows not only how to work but how to sell, that could be great matches. Go ahead.
Logan Paul, again, we don't know how many dates they have on him and how much they're going to use him. But two things were set up naturally here. I mean, him and Ricochet may not be a big money match, but it could be a big spectacle that people want to see after this. And him and Rollins was set up, and I could see that being a Mania match very easily. And Theory looks really good. So, I mean, you have some guys that are starting to get elevated, and you got to think Braun Breaker's going to show up this year because they can't keep him down forever. It's been a while since we first started saying, when's he coming up?
Yeah.
Which was right after he debuted.
Well, but I said I didn't want him to rush him either because he is going to be the WWE champion in 3 years or whatever.
And usually they bring up a lot of these guys Mania time, right after Mania, right before Mania, they debut at Mania, but right around that time. So let's say you get him in the next few months. Let's say you don't treat Theory like a jerk-off and you treat him seriously. You have Gunther if you don't mess him up with the booking. You have Cody, and Cody's stuff has been really good in WWE. And I've always been critical of the bad Cody stuff. You have Roman for who knows how much longer, but he's mixed in with everything else happening there, which is another top flight thing that's really good. All of a sudden you have a lot of really interesting, compelling new guys to the top, and that's not to say they don't get anyone else and they put them there. If CM Punk ever becomes a free agent and he somehow ended up back in WWE, that'd be another name here at the top. If another AEW star leaves and goes to WWE. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this happens every now and then. WWE has a pay-per-view and I come out of it optimistic. But I felt a lot of optimism about the future of WWE I'm going to say that I'm going to hate Raw or something. I felt a lot of optimism about WWE coming out of this pay-per-view event.
Optimistic, but don't worry, they will dash those hopes on the rocks of booking.
There are still some other things to get to on this show that may change my thought.
Well, yeah, because here's another one. They're still using Bray Wyatt. The pitch black match was... I wish I could have been there to stop the pitch when it was pitched. Let's put it that way. So after all of this, what we got was a match where they turned a black light on and had the guys wearing the fluorescent color tights and or in Wyatt's case makeup and green confetti, and it was a fucking head shop match. Is what they should have called it. It was they turned black light on and everything glowed fucking glowing fluorescent Kermit green.
Yeah, it was the pitch black match, not the neon light match, which is what it turned into.
Yeah. And I felt like I fast forwarded 15 minutes of Bray Wyatt's entrance to get him into the ring, and he had Chris Colt's Alice Cooper makeup on from 1976. And then they started this match, and I swear to God, right as I had written down fluorescent ropes and tights, this match should be sponsored by Spencer's Gifts, and Michael Cole said that. So now, God damn it, I guess my material is rotten because Michael Cole is coming up with the same shit on the fly. Spencer's Gifts was the only place back in the fucking late 70s and early 80s that you could actually purchase a vibrator without a fucking being able to be old enough to go into a goddamn porn store, I'll have you know.
Were you buying a lot of vibrators?
Well, you know, they didn't make them to last back in those days. There weren't a lot of varieties, and they were fairly cheaply made in China. So a lot of times, especially under certain elements of abuse, the base that would turn it on would get cracked or loosened, and it wouldn't make contact. You'd have to pitch the thing.
So how many vibrators you think you've been through?
What, from Spencer's Gifts? Not more than a dozen, 15. So then they have this match. And Bray Wyatt, he's doing plodding, flat-footed shit. And LA Knight's doing the best he can to bump and or sell for the guy. They go to the floor. Wyatt clears off the announce desk. And then LA Knight tackled him through the desk, and green glowing confetti went everywhere. Why was there confetti there? On the desk. They were just holding buckets of green fluorescent confetti for a certain occasion.
There was going to be a tribute to the early days of Randy Savage's promos on this show, but it didn't. They ruined the confetti. It was going to happen.
Okay, well, Bray Wyatt then throws a toolbox into the ring, and normally now it's a garbage match, but I would have loved if he'd ever used it. But he didn't. I didn't see him take anything out of the toolbox. He sold almost nothing. He didn't take any bumps. None of his work stands out. And then LA Knight gets a glowing fluorescent kendo stick and hits him 2 or 3 times with it. And Wyatt responds to that by just grabbing him and hitting his finish. 1, 2, 3. What the? And that was it. That was the match. And then, while LA Knight is selling, Bray Wyatt goes in the corner and puts another horror movie mask on, and then turns around and starts menacing. You can't call it chasing because there was not a lot of running, just menacing LA Knight. And LA Knight keeps backing up and out of the ring and down the aisle. At the same time, he's hitting this goofy fucker with this kendo stick, and Bray Wyatt is not selling any of them. He just keeps progressing forward, and finally, they get to the back of the arena, and Bray Wyatt puts the mandible claw on LA Knight and fucking puts him out and rolls him off the stage or whatever they're on. You can't see there. He's on a crash pad, which they're trying not to shoot because it's a fucking crash pad. And I'm thinking, my God, I've just thought might as well, why not piss in his mouth while he's down there? They beat him flat. And then the guy sells nothing when he's hitting him over the head with a stick, and then he puts the claw on him and fucking shoves him off into something. I'm thinking, what the fuck? And then there's Captain Howdy on the top of whatever the set dressing was, 20 feet in the air. And he does an elbow drop off this thing out of camera view, supposedly onto L.A. Knight, but obviously
nowhere near L.A. Knight.
Not only nowhere near him, but onto a crash pad that actually goes poof when they land on it, and you see the guy's feet kind of fly up like he's bounced on the bouncy castle. He's in the fucking, he's at a kid's birthday party in the bouncy castle. And then pyro shoots off when he lands the elbow, and then at the top of the thing that he's jumped off of, the puppets, the pig and the ocelot and the duck-billed platypus, whatever they are, appear. I never thought I'd say this. L.A. Knight was better off as Max Dupree. What?
He certainly could have used the help of Mansois and Soiree, or whatever their names were.
Well, and not to mention Minaj. I'd have called Minaj in here for help on that. When are the fans going to turn on this? I mean, some people already are. We hear it constantly, but I'm talking about the rank and file WWE fan. When are they going to say, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. It's fucking goofy. The matches suck. The booking sucks. The stipulations suck. And this guy sucks.
I can't believe the amount of money they pay this guy and they let him get away with all this shit. This is the first match he's had in months. Bad segment after bad segment on SmackDown. LA Knight has done as well as you can considering the limitations that are in abundance here. But this guy, this is why I told you early on when you said, let's see what he'll do when he came back. I said, no, we know what he'll do. He can't work. There's always something. I saw a match where there were red lights. I saw a match where there were flames. I saw a match where there were worms in the ring. It's always something like that. And then he kills the person he's working with, so they need forever to recover if they even get a chance. I would like to play you, if you don't mind, because I know you didn't stay up. I couldn't go to bed after this. I know you didn't stay up and watch the Royal Rumble press conference that WWE did. Very, very different than the AEW media scrums, I'll tell you that.
Anybody getting a fight?
No fights. Wrestlers are in and out in a couple of minutes, and for the most part, no hard-hitting questions. I guess no one in that room wants to stand up and be the one who has WWE fans. Because it can't be just media. I think it has to be media and some fans. So I think if you ask the wrong thing, some of them may boo you or something. But let's hear what Bray Wyatt had to say about his performance at the Royal Rumble.
Well, I feel incredibly satisfied now, all the buildup and all the, I think most people don't understand all the time and the pressure that goes into these kind of things, all the thought.
What?
So now it's like a really wonderful feeling, but it's, it's been a wild week. It's been a really wild week, but the payoff is now.
Let me stop it there before we go to the next question.
The time and the thought, and it was like no thought was put in this. This was a shitty match with bad lighting and a rotten finish and a goofy angle, and it didn't last very long, and nobody looked good.
They should have had Naomi return. Remember, she used to wear the outfit that would glow in the dark? Oh. Wouldn't that have been amazing if all of a sudden she danced to the ring in the middle of this? Uncle Howdy wouldn't have even known what to do. But let's hear more from Bray Wyatt.
Back row.
They're going to the back row.
Hi, Bray.
They're going to the back.
From comicbook.com. One of the things, too, tonight, it was a lot going on, but there was also some messages sent Alexa Bliss's way, and that always seems to kind of interact with your world. What can you tell us about that bridge that you're building there?
Let me just stop right there, because again, this is a press conference after a wrestling event. I'm not expecting Woodward and Bernstein here, but even if you ask that question, you think that's a good question to ask, what do you think he's going to say? Oh, well, here's the booking. Here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, here's exactly what we're thinking.
Well, I think that me and Alexa are just kind of connected forever, no matter what. It's just kind of the way it's gone. And where it leads, I don't know. No one knows. But I feel like there will be something at some point, and it will be memorable. I'm sure of that.
There'll be something at some point.
Right here, second row, you, sir.
They're going to the second row.
Elliot Greenberg from Wrestling Inc. in the UK. How do you think people will regard this very unique time in wrestling history?
That's an interesting question, man. I think there's some people that like new concepts and people that take risks and things, and then there's people that don't just because they don't. You know, it's a sport to some and it's a show to others. But I think the beautiful thing about wrestling, this industry, is that there's something for everyone. And I've always kind of prided myself on the fact that, you know, I'd be willing to take risks and do things that no one's ever done, because in my opinion, if you're not willing to do that, then what are you doing here? You know, it's about kind of leaving a legacy.
What are you doing there?
And I would do pretty much anything, especially if no one's ever done it before, because I know that people would notice it. And it's
Well, if you want to know which wrestler is going to be fucking a cow on TV because it's never been done, it'll be Bray Wyatt.
No, actually, I've seen that before. It was a German video with subtitles. But here's an idea. Why don't he go out in the parking lot and squat down and give birth to a 27-pound flaming porcupine? Nobody's ever done that either.
So again, I wanted to play you some of this audio because when he first came back, you and I talked about it. You were a little optimistic. There were rumors that we had talked about, 2 years ago, that it was mostly Vince, that he was kind of forced to do a lot of Vince's things that ruined whatever the original intent was for the Bray Wyatt series of characters. When you hear him actually explain, I don't know if philosophy is the right word, but his protocol, his where his mind is at going into these things, what do you think? Because, I mean, this is really the divide. This is not, the House of Black isn't as egregious as this, but the whole, we call it spooky wrestling, whatever it is, the idea that wrestling should be a canvas beyond a sport, that should also have elements of other TV shows that, for whatever reason, these people think need to be on wrestling.
Yes, and that's the problem, and that's why this guy's a drizzling shits, because he thinks that. and a lot of these other fucking assholes think that too. They want to be video game characters. They want to be horror movie stars. They want to get booked in C-level horror movies, remakes of shit that was actually good that some fucking moron's going to take and ruin for everybody else that liked that kind of thing. These people are ruining wrestling for us. They don't want to be wrestlers. If you don't want to be a wrestler, you don't want to do the shit that wrestlers have done before, do something else. Don't get in fucking wrestling. That's my advice or wish or fervent hope, that whether you want to be in fucking, what was that, Final Fantasy 14 with Seraphim and Serabim, or you want to be a goddamn, Rob Zombie horror movie remake reject, don't clutter up the fucking wrestling business. There's reasons why people have not done most of the things that Bray Wyatt has done before, because they're fucking stupid and they're the shits as applied to wrestling. So I'm painting this guy with the same brush as Twinkle Toes and some of these performance artists and the pizza maker and Pockets and whoever the fuck else that they, okay, we can't do this right. We can't make this believable, and nobody really is going to care about us as personalities, as wrestlers. So we'll do something so over the top goofy that the people that like to laugh at this shit anyway will enjoy it. Well, fuck all of you.
You know what? He's a little worse because you could work with the Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks and not be completely destroyed coming out of it. We've heard rumors or whispers in the past about maybe Randy Orton or Rollins or different people who had a difficult time recovering from working with Bray Wyatt. If you were a top guy there, would you want to work with him? Forget about the gimmicks and everything else. No one comes out of working with him and he's stronger. He kills everyone.
Yes, no, you look like a blithering dipshit when you get out of the ring with this guy. He kills everybody he comes in contact with. So I hope the merchandise he sells is worth it to him. But if I was booked against him, I'd call in fucking sick. Anyway, speaking of calling in sick, I called in sick for the next match, which was Bianca Belair against Alexa Bliss. And I've had enough possessed people, and I'm not going to watch this Lexus Bliss to pretend to be a wrestler again. So what happened?
Jim, at various points in life, we all need a break. And I like Bianca Belair, and I needed a break, and I wasn't going to watch. I'm on an Alexa Bliss flan. I'm on a flan of hers or a fan of hers. And I decided to use this as a chance to go heat up a knish in the kitchen.
What? A what?
A knish.
The hell is that?
You know exactly what it is. You've been to a New York deli.
I've never ordered a knish or a kebabble or a Hassenpfeffer either.
Well, that's 3 different restaurants we're talking about here. But anyway, my intent was to come back and
you didn't tell me what the knish was. What is at delis I get like Reubens and sandwiches and things. What is a knish?
Well, a square knish, which is what I prefer. Imagine mashed potatoes, the most delicious mashed potatoes in a square form with a not hard, but a crust, a shell that keeps everything inside that you can make toasty if you want, and I want it, that you can put mustard and also, it's delicious. It's the best. You want some?
So is the shell, is it deep fried?
You could if you really wanted to.
That doesn't sound half bad, deep fried mashed potatoes.
And it's a big thing. Of course, there are also circle knishes, or round knishes, I should say, and I don't like those at all. I think they are terrible.
Well, it seems like those would be easier to hold in your hand.
Well, you don't want to hold it in your hand. You need a fork. At least a fork. Maybe even a knife.
Oh, I thought I was getting the idea you were just eating it like a softball.
No, it's like bigger than a softball.
Oh, is it as big as a bread box?
Are we going to talk about porn again?
What about a volleyball? All right, speaking of porn, the Women's Royal Rumble.
That has nothing to do with porn.
I was about to say, finishing the sentence has nothing to do with porn, but it was up next. See, you wouldn't let me get, all right, I'm going to, again, I see Rhea Ripley #1, and I'm just going to tell you the way this transpired, because you wanted me to watch this thing anyway. Oh, no, it's going to be great. I didn't
say it was going to be great. I said it would be worth you reviewing.
Worth you reviewing. I see Rhea Ripley #1, and okay, and she's coming out. She's selling her ribs from the attack by Beth Phoenix, but she's still coming out with game face. I'm thinking, well, at least she's obviously not going to win it because she's at #1 here, but maybe they'll let her be in long enough to acquit herself. And I've started watching, but listen to the next 3 girls in. Liv Morgan is the one she starts with. Dana Brooke. Emma.
I didn't realize Dana Brooke was still there.
I didn't realize Dana Brooke was even still alive. I haven't heard that name in ages. Emma. It wasn't Emma Peel, so I didn't care. And then Shayna Baszler. At that point, I wrote, I wish somebody would hit me in the head so I can see some stars. Here is my idea. When did they start having the Women's Royal Rumble along with the men's? How long ago? How many years?
Ooh, 3 or 4 years, maybe.
Oh, good God. What they should have done was what Dusty did with the Bunkhouse Stampede Battle Royals and the Managers Bunkhouse Stampede. Because Dusty, every December, all the big events would have a 20 or a 24-man or whatever Bunkhouse Stampede Battle Royal. But Dusty in '89, this is one of the last things he booked before he was gone. Oh, no, it was 88. I'm sorry. It was 88. In Atlanta and Greensboro and I think another place or two, because he realized he had like 7 managers. There was me, there was J.J. Dillon, Gary Hart, Paul Jones, Paul Heyman, Paulie Dangerously rather, Oliver Humperdinck. And so on those shows, he booked a manager's bunkhouse. And since me and Humperdinck were the only 2 baby faces and poor Hump was being used underneath at that point, I won by default. So I had to win all the managers' bunkhouse stampede matches. But there was only 7 of us. You were in and you were out. It wasn't like the goddamn men's bunkhouse stampede where there was 20 or 25 of them with all the top stars because people actually wanted to see that. Maybe the people wanted to see the manager's bunkhouse for about 7 to 9 minutes, which is what it lasted. So if they've got to have a women's Royal Rumble, put 15 of them in there, because you haven't got 30 good women to begin with. Yeah, like I said, you got 30 women, not 30 good ones. So at least if you put 15 in at half an hour is an eternity in some cases, but it would be enough for a women's Royal Rumble match. This thing was an hour and 5 fucking minutes or whatever. And then after Shayna Baszler, number 5, Bayley, number 6. They kind of like Bayley. Or yeah, I know she's a heel. They're interested. Bayley's kind of over. But then here comes B-Fab. And they've given up on her too, because she got in and Rhea Ripley had dumped her in about 13 seconds.
They gave her like 15 seconds to shine.
Well,
that's probably how they sold it to her. You go in there for like 30 seconds, you kill everyone, and then you get thrown on your head.
Yeah, you're going to look like a world beater for about 22 seconds. And then here we go, Roxanne Perez, Dakota Sky, Io Kai.
No, you're getting those names completely mixed up.
What?
Dakota Kai and Io Sky.
What'd I say?
Dakota Kai and Io. No, you said Dakota Sky and Io Kai.
That's what I said. Dakota Kai and Io Sky.
You said Io Kai and Dakota Sky.
Kai and Sky.
No, you said Sky and Kai.
Well, no, it could be Sky and Kai, or it could be Kai and Sky. It depends on which one comes first.
I think you had established on the show it was Kai and Sky. You don't say, oh, look, it's Davis and Franken.
Number 11 was Natalia, not Costello and Abbott. Or Hardy and Laurel. How about Johnson and Olsen?
Allen and Burns.
The Ritz brothers. I guess that works either way. Number 12 was Candice LaRue.
Candice LeRae.
Her too. Number 13.
She's about as over as her husband.
Zoe Stark. Number 14, Xia Li. I'm serious. It's been a half an hour.
I will stop you, because I enjoyed the match.
I will stop you.
I will stop you. I enjoyed the match. And I may get the name wrong. I think it was Roxanne Perez from NXT. Was super impressive in here. And really good. So I want to, while you're just killing everyone and blowing past this thing, I want to point out someone who stood out for someone who I think a lot of fans there weren't aware of, and they were reacting to her because she was so good.
She was very fiery, and I would watch some of this, but then I'd rub Harley's belly, or I'd look at a magazine, or I'd get distracted, or I'd have to piss, or But finally, point is, number 15, half an hour in, Becky Lynch, and the people woke up. Because this had been brutal in terms of star power. And Becky Lynch gets in the ring. Within 2 minutes, they had not only stopped her, but chucked her over the fucking desk into the crowd. Am I lying?
No, you're flying. Well, I guess you wouldn't be flying. You're telling the truth.
And she was there for what? Next 5 minutes or so? You didn't see her again. And then we continue with the parade of the irrelevant and or immaterial. Tegan Knox, Oscar, Piper Dewdrop.
See, let me stop you right there. Oscar showing up was a big moment for the fans there. She had a new look, new hairdo. She looked as much like the Great Muta in 1989 as Kiji Muto ever has. And Dewdrop came back.
Did she appear as part of the Great Muta Bye Bye show?
No, I do not believe. I just dropped something. I do not believe she was on the Bye Bye Muta show. And then Dewdrop, they brought her in as Piper Niven. They've gotten rid of Dewdrop, which everyone admitted was kind of an embarrassing name and gimmick for someone who had shown a little bit more in NXT and before she got signed. And there's a small but a interesting step in the right direction, dropping a bad gimmick. And the fans reacted to her. You reacted by pressing fast forward.
Tamina was number 19. Followed by Chelsea Green, Zelina Vega, Raquel Gonzalez Rodriguez Mascaras.
She got a nice pop.
She gets over, and she's got that fucking look, and she's strong, and she's tall. Again, you know, there'd be a heck of a tag team match out of this 30-woman, or several good singles matches. You got Rhea Ripley. You got Bayley, although they've diminished Bayley badly. You've got Becky Lynch. Raquel, we're 22 in, and those are the people that I've picked that I would like to see work. Here comes Mia Yim. I know Mia. She's a nice girl. They've done nothing with her. Number 24 was Lacey Evans, who got in and basically tried to beel one of the girls, and they got off kilter. And so the first time she laid hands on somebody, tried to throw across the ring, it was all fucked up. And then number 25, we got a surprise. Michelle McCool, who is in the front row, comes over the rail and joins the match.
Whatever makes the Undertaker happy.
What is Trish Stratus doing? Where was Lita? I'm thinking of huge female names of times gone by that could have replaced Chelsea Green and Candy LeRae.
Well, Chelsea Green wasn't a problem because she's someone who hasn't been there, so it was a little bit of a surprise before she got eliminated 5 seconds later. But, you know, if you have Lita and Trish Stratus come back every Rumble, it doesn't mean anything anymore. And I think at least Lita was, I think, in last year's. But well,
Lita's been around. I haven't seen Trish in a while. I don't know. Nevertheless, after Michelle McCool, number 26, Indy Hartwell. Number 27, Sonya Deville. Good old Cruella. I like her. Number 28, Shotzi. Number 29, Nikki Don't Call Me Ass Cross. And finally, number 30, it was a surprise. All right. Nia Myhole came back. And
you mean, I was about to say, you mean Nia Yim. You mean Nia Jax.
Nia Yim. Not Nia Jax. She's famous for screaming, "My hole!" And she was there to fill the Andre the Giant role because all the girls try to gang up on her and she pushes them around because she's a fucking freezer with legs and a head. And then she was there to get slammed by Ripley, and then thank you for coming, Nia, before she was able to injure anybody. So now all the women are in, and we see that out of 30 women in the WWE, or 30 of these women, because Charlotte wasn't in it, Bianca wasn't in it, there's a couple other, but you got Rhea Ripley, Kana Bailey, Becky Lynch, Raquel, and that's the ladies that, and Lacey Evans, I don't even know what to say. That are the number of ladies in this match that will ever be in any kind of main event position on a big show in a singles match or a title match. And anybody care. That's the list right there. So, Rhea and Oscar and Liv Morgan, she stayed till the end. That little pixie, the little sprite. They end up on the apron. Oscar tries the mist. Rhea ducks. Liv gets the mist in the face. Rhea knocks Oscar off to the floor and then head scissors Liv off to the floor as well and won the thing. So she was in there for an hour and whatever, 2 minutes. At least they recognize she's their female superstar of the future. We know that now, that they're not blind to this and that they realize what we have for a while. She is the shit. But they didn't need an hour for this.
I know you fast forwarded through a lot. I don't know how much you would have seen, but watching her in this match, watching the way she sells everything, she really is maybe the best we've seen. I mean, you know, she's young and she hasn't done a lot yet, but
she works like a guy.
Man, she's got it down. Rhea Ripley's really good.
The only problem I have with her is with her ability to sell shit and blah, 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 is that sometimes when she's in with one of these girls, it just doesn't work because their shit is not good and she's selling it anyway. It makes her look bad. I cringe at that. I would keep her dominant over most of the field and only have her really be competitive with the Charlottes and the Biancas and the Beckys and a few other people you can count on. But she's got everything.
You'd prefer a dominant Rhea? I think a lot of men would prefer
I think, well, absolutely, as dominant as she can possibly be over all of those other young ladies on video. I'll pay a subscription fee. All right. Are we ready now for the main event of the Royal Rumble? And I must say, again, I like the Royal Rumble match. I didn't like the Valley in the middle, which was the Girls Royal Rumble, the pitch black extravaganza. They ought to call it piss black. And the, Alexis Bliss that we didn't watch, or I didn't watch, but they're bookending the thing. They're going to end strong. We're going to see what happens with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. And Owens obviously out there going it alone. Roman's got Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn at ringside with him. So what's going to happen? And again, we're in hindsight here. We've seen some of the feedback from this. The match was last night, obviously, as we're recording this. People loved the ending that we will describe, and people loved the idea that this is progressing and etc. The only criticism I have on the match itself is, again, did it have to be that long to get to everything? They keep Brock short and sweet, but everybody else has to prove they can go 30 minutes bell to bell. And I'm not sure it was called for here. Because everybody knew that Kevin Owens was not going to win this match and win the belt. They wanted to see what was going to happen with Sami and the continuation of that issue. So I'm not even knocking Steen here. He works his ass off. He does good shit for a tubby fellow. I don't know how he does the frog splash off the apron to the floor and not break his kneecaps.
The way he takes the spear looked pretty. Okay,
yeah.
That looked like it hurt. And he did it over and over. He's always been able to work and to move, belying the pudgy physique, but anyway, when they get going into things, finally, Kevin had made a comeback, but Roman stopped him again, went for the Superman punch, and Owens ducked it and Germaned him. But then Roman hit the Superman punch, 2 count. Roman goes for the spear, hits the post instead. Owens hits a swanton, 2 count. They're doing everything they can to give people the impression that he might win the thing. And the one bobble if you hadn't seen him do this before, you wouldn't have any idea what the fuck he was doing. But Reigns, they had fought on the top rope, and Owens knocks Reigns down to the mat, and he's laying there, and Owens gets on the second rope looking at him, and he's going to jump up and turn around and not pick a bale of cotton, but he's going to jump up, turn around, and moonsault off the top rope and miss it because Roman is going to roll in toward the buckle. Well, when Owens jumps up and turns around, he should have been going for a bale of cotton. It would have been a softer landing because he missed landing on the top rope with 1 foot and fell straight backwards and landed ass first on Roman Reigns. I was like, oh my God, this could have been the big one. But he got right up, Owens did, pissed off at himself, and hit a fucking senton, and then did a moonsault and missed that, and Reigns hit a spear and got a 2 count. Good recovery.
Got all kinds of notes here. Good recovery. He handled it somewhat professionally. And then they bump the referee. Roman shoves Owens off into the referee. And, of course, then Owens hits a power bomb and covers, but there's no ref. So you can't just kill the babyface. He's got to have some, visual affirmation to the fans that he could have won it. It's an out. It's a bitch. It's a gripe. But then finally Roman ball shots Owens and tells Sammy at ringside to get a chair. And Sammy's like, wait, you told me not to do anything. What should I do? No, get the goddamn chair. So he hesitated, but he got the chair. He gives it to Roman. But by that point, Owens is up and stunners Roman again, or stunners him. And this time the referee's up and gets a 2 count. But then Roman comes back and hits a spear and gets a 2 count. And Owens rolls to the floor, and Sammy's pleading with him, stay down, stay down. So the theory is Sammy doesn't want to see Roman hurt him. He'd just rather see Owens stay down. And then Reigns spears Owens through the barricade, and that was one of the better spears through the barricade. I wish they hadn't done it 75 times, because this one was great. And he tosses Owens back in the ring, but Owens rolls out to the floor on the other side, so he can't be pinned. And that's where, again, Reigns goes out and gets Owens and does the deal where he flings him back of his head first against the steel ring stairs and twice, which looked great. Except, again, I don't know how Owens does that. And there can't be a lot of margin for error. But one would think that one really good-looking one, because it looks so good, because how could you still be conscious? But nevertheless, and then rolled him in the ring again. And then Paul Heyman starts acknowledging Roman and groveling to him, and, oh, you're my tribal chief, and, oh, I love you. And Sammy's got that reluctant face, and he puts the 1 up, and people now are paying more attention to Sammy's reactions or whatever than they are really to what's going on with the match. And at that point, finally, Owens weakly and wearily swings, tries a punch, and Reigns hits the spear. 1, 2, 3. It wasn't an exciting finish. It was an angle finish. And it's what they needed to tell the story. They didn't need an exciting finish because nobody thought Owens was going to win anyway. So instead, they do an angle finish where Owens looked competitive all the way through and did better than anybody might have hoped and prayed that he might. But in the end, Reigns spears him through the barricade, bashes his fucking melon against the steel a couple of times, and spears him and pins him. It was an angle finish. It didn't need to come out of nowhere because it was what it was. What'd you think of the match thus far before we go on to the afterbirth?
Good match. Fans are into it. I thought Owens, like you said, good recovery on the blown spot earlier. I thought Owens was really good in there. Even as the match is happening, the drama's kind of building around ringside. I enjoyed it.
And that's Owens again. I've always said he can work and he can move, and he works his ass off. He doesn't dog it. He doesn't phone it in. He just, God, he was all, maybe it's the French Canadianism. I don't know. Just always such a pain in the ass. But nevertheless, now all the bloodline are in the ring, and they've got the leis and the celebratory flower necklaces. And they pass them out to everybody, and one of the Usos goes to give Sammy his, and Roman says, oh, hold on. Get him first. And the Usos start kicking the shit out of Owens. Multiple super kicks, beating him up, blah, blah, blah. Sammy's more uncomfortable. Solo then goes over and gives Owens the big ass in the corner with a chair around his head, horse collaring him. And then Heyman brings out handcuffs, 2 pairs of handcuffs. And, me and Paul together, we kind of fit because he's got brand new pairs of handcuffs and I've got brand new keys. I didn't know that Paul always carried handcuffs with him. I know that I always carry a handcuff key. Nevertheless, you never really need, well, I guess sometimes you need handcuffs on the spur of the moment. But anyway, here's the thing. Again, yes, this is building up what we've all wanted to see, which is the bloodline's going to kill Owens unless Sammy intervenes, and what's he going to do? The decision is what we're waiting on. But God, it was so long, and nobody's trying to help. Nobody. you can make the statement that, well, Sami Zayn has no friends in the locker room. Owens was his friend. He turned on Owens. He's with the bloodline, so nobody cared. But referees, security, and idle fucking rent-a-cop from the concession stand. This went on so long that at some point, and I'm sure they told him to do this, the announcers laid out and weren't so it was like everybody associated with this company had completely disappeared from the face of the earth except what was going on in the ring. And I'm sorry, but that's all I can think about, because the job one, when I got into business, what's the phrase that I'm searching for? The absolute one thing that you do above the first commandment is make it look like it's really happening. And no, they couldn't just do this for minutes on end to somebody on television in front of God and everybody, in front of witnesses, without somebody making a token effort to try to do something and being turned away. That's part of the fucking picture you're painting and the atmosphere you're supposed to be creating. But this is sports entertainment. And yes, I know we all wanted to see this, and it was very well done from the talent perspective, but goddamn, it's still phony sports entertainment when it goes on forever like this, and the announcers aren't even bothered to say, oh God, they've just left too. So they're killing this guy, and I'm just thinking it would be better if it was a wrestling angle, which would be some bell ringing and some people trying to get in, and the bloodline are bad enough to kick him out. And then Roman turns around and talks to Owens for a while and goes to use the chair on him. And finally, Sami gets in front and says, stop. And that gets the pop. But now they don't have a microphone. They're using the floor microphone on the camera that can pick this up. But Sami's saying, you don't need to do this. He's done. So then Roman hands Sami the chair and says, well, then you do it. And again, I'm seeing this in the Superdome or in the Greensboro Coliseum, all these things happening, but in much more condensed form and with pantomime, telling all the thousands of people in the building what's happening in about 10 seconds rather than all the conversation, and is taken for fucking ever. And Reigns berates Sami and wants him to use the chair on Owens. You do it. And finally, Roman starts pie-facing him and yelling at him. Now we're getting to the meat of the matter. And Sami has the chair, and as Roman turns around to look at fucking Owens, Sami hits Roman with the chair, but across the back. Can you imagine the pop if Roman had turned around and spit on Owens and turned back around and Sami had crowned him over the head with that fucking chair?
Well, I saw other people point this out, and I thought about it. It was a throwback to when he turned on the Shield. When Rollins turned on the Shield, excuse me.
I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it got a monster pop. I can't say that anything would have gotten a bigger pop. It got a monster pop.
It got a big pop because that's what they've been waiting to see, but this whole, if you swing a chair at the head, somebody's going to say they don't allow chair shots to the head. Well, they ought to if somebody knows what they're fucking doing, both giving it and taking it. Nobody'd be hurt. Bobby Fulton hit me over the head with a chair about 3 or 4 times. I didn't suffer any ill effects because he liked me and didn't want to kill me, and I knew he knew what he was doing, and I took it right. But goddamn, point is, Wacky hits him with a chair. And the Usos are, what the fuck? And Jimmy super kicks Sami and beats him up, and Solo spikes him, and Roman says, kill him. And Jay's over in the corner, and he won't participate. We didn't see this one coming. This is a very nice little twist. He won't participate. Not only that, but he rolls out of the ring and leaves. Walks down the entryway with a horrible expression. He's all torn up. And so at that point, Roman wears Sami out with the chair. Now, he hit him about 10 times. So across the back and the sides, yes. If you're going to hit somebody, don't hit him in the head 10 times. And ripped his Zeus shirt off and crumbled flowers all over him. And I like what they did, and I'm not trying to knock it. And everybody's wanting to see this, and it's the perfect time now to kick it up for WrestleMania season. And what's going to happen? We talked about, would it be Sammy and Owens against the Usos? But that, maybe it's going to be Sammy and an Uso against another Uso. We don't know what the fuck now because of this swerve with the Usos. The only thing, it was the longest angle in history of wrestling. Couldn't these things happen with urgency and people in jeopardy and there's chaos going on rather than the sports entertainment angle, which is milk everything incessantly and nobody will try to stop this until whenever you're finished. That's the problem I had with it. Otherwise, everybody was a box of fluffy ducks.
I thought it was a great match, or a great spectacle, at least after the match, and it did take forever, and that is the WWE way. They're never going to not milk something, especially if Vince is really pulling the strings.
Yeah, and that's why I say I know that's what they do now. I can't not mention it because it drives me out of my mind because I was taught the exact opposite. Get the fucking heat, make it look good, make it look real, and make it look like chaos, and get the fuck out before you wear out your welcome. And they do the opposite thing. And so that I have to bring it up, but at the same time, we've probably, I guess, accepted that this is the way a lot of this is going to be these days.
And again, the people left, even though Sammy and Owens got beat, they got to see him finally turn on or hit or finally get his, Roman got his comeuppance. I don't know how you want to see it. The Jey Uso thing puts an interesting spin on it. Unless something changes, Cody has to wrestle Roman at WrestleMania. He's the unified champion. So
there's 2 nights.
There's 2 nights of Mania. There's a lot of interesting things happening here. I mean, it would make no sense to blow off, or they're not going to blow it off yet. They've taken so long with Roman, but to do too much at the Elimination Chamber, this is WrestleMania season. I mean, what do you do to propel this? Do you think you need to propel all of this to Mania, or do you shift the focus with Roman to Cody to get to Mania?
Well, you got to do both because that's going to be the match for the title, Cody and Roman. But at the same point, Sammy is not only has this thing gotten over and he's so popular and people have been so interested, but you've got to have Sammy and Owens and Usos and Solo and whatever else involved in some fashion. So you're building both. And
now you do the tribal council because now you got Jey Uso.
Well, there you go. And they might be able to do that they were going to do originally instead of the trial of Sami Zayn, the tribal council, and bring the previous generations in. But, Roman is going to be, I would think, telling the wise man and the rest of his crew here, what the fuck? Now I've got to deal with Cody while I got Sammy running around trying to fucking, instigate shit, whatever. So it's going to be a multifaceted thing. I don't know where they're going, and I like that part of it because I can't figure this one out. Usually either we figure it out or we don't care enough to try to figure it out. But in this case, I'm trying and I can't figure it out where they're going. So, like I said, I liked everything except the longest angle in wrestling. Everything they did was great. I'd have tightened that up a bit and some more chaos and urgency and jeopardy and et cetera in these things. Because again, the announcers laid out. So remember in the 80s when Vince was adamant that you had to send the people home happy on a pay-per-view? This closed with the 2 baby faces lying unconscious and ravaged in the middle of the ring. And the announcer's not saying a goddamn word, and you didn't even see a doctor sliding in to fucking check on him. They just left him laying there. Can you imagine if they'd have covered a live sporting event like a football game, and the quarterback gets tackled or sacked and is just unconscious, and they go off the air with the guy laying on the fucking field and nobody's even checking about him? These are the things that drive me crazy.
Well, these are the things that happen in WWE, but by and large, a widely well-received Royal Rumble, and we are now on the road to WrestleMania Elimination Chamber.
I more well-received. I widely well-received this Rumble than I have many others. I will say that, though. I give it a firm snap and a half up.
Well, there you go. And that was the longest angle in wrestling history. This, of course, being the longest podcast in wrestling history.
Oh, good Lord. It's Tuesday.